All right. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm Glenn Lubert, and for people perform and well-being, and also I'm a tiny habits expert, which is for building new habits. And I'm also a recovering and stressed out entrepreneur who screwed up their sleep by crisscrossing the country and living in a perpetual state of jet lag. And so I really wanted to figure out how to improve my sleep. So I delved into the science of sleep, and I combined that with my habit uh, expertise and created some habits that will help reduce stress and anxiety. So I'm going to cover over the next 15 minutes or so what stress is doing to your sleep, and then the 8 core components that I've identified through the science of sleep hygiene. And then I'm going to talk about the tiny habits method, which is a simple way that to create new habits that has a big impact, and show you a little bit about the method. And then I'm going to give you example sleep habits that you can start to utilize when you are working on your own habits.
There we go.
Oh, okay. Sorry, but I didn't thought you had started the recording earlier. Okay, yeah. So cortisol, it controls our sleep-wake cycle. Bottom line. And so what we're going to be talking about is how to work on better sleep habits. And so the this is a slide that shows how cortisol spikes during the morning. So right at the beginning of the morning, when we wake up, we get a cortisol spike. And this is good because helps us get us moving in the morning. And throughout the day, though, it decreases naturally as the day goes on. And then it comes up a little bit at night, but then and then spikes again in the morning. And so this is a natural cycle that we have for our body to recover. And if we derail this and we don't handle it properly, it leads to anxiety, depression, headaches, heart disease, memory, concentration problems, weight gain, etc. So managing our cortisol is very important for getting a good night sleep. I have another slide here about this too. So this kind of helps a little bit to show the blue line in this case is the cortisol that jumps in the morning and then decreases throughout the day, and then stays flat until the morning. So the other one is melatonin. This is what helps you fall asleep. So in the morning, it's very low. And then towards around the evening when the sun goes down, sun going down triggers your melatonin to start coming out. And then it goes up very high during the evening. And so that way by 10 o'clock or so, whenever your normal sleep schedule is, then it is at its highest level because it's helping you fall asleep. And then slowly throughout this the sun is important, which shift working is can be managed. So here are the 8 core components of sleep hygiene. When you go to bed, what your bedroom's like, the light in your room, the temperature in your room, when we eat food and when we drink, especially alcohol, the sound in your room, when we have exercise, and then on our wind down schedule. So I'm going to go through each of these. So timing. Sleep consistency is the most impactful thing you can do to manage your sleep. When you have a fixed wake up time and a fixed sleep time, it can be a game changer just by doing this. Even on the weekends, doing a consistent sleep schedule will do wonders for your sleep. And the idea is to plan to be in bed, in the actual bed, for 8 hours if you want to get 7 hours of sleep, and 9 hours in bed if you want to get 8 hours of sleep. And if you do it every day, even on the weekends, with like a 30-minute fluctuation, like I said, it's going to be a game changer. In the bedroom, you want to create a sleep cocoon in your bedroom. So only have your bedroom for sleep and sex. No electronics, TV. Just create your bedroom to be a sleep cocoon. the next one is, no, this is a sleep cocoon too. I've read this slide in here. Now, what's the challenge here in this sleep cocoon is they don't have, it's not dark enough. So in this case, I would recommend having blackout shades for the room. So that way, when you do go to bed, depending on the time of year, in the summer, it's longer days and earlier, the sun comes up earlier. So we want to have that room to be dark in the morning, or using a mask, and that would be great for shift working too. Is using a mask to keep the sunlight out, so you can replicate that darkness in your bedroom to keep that sleep cocoon going. So as we were talking about the circadian rhythm, this is what our body clock is built on. This is how it's an internal body clock. This is how we know when to go to bed and when we're supposed to wake up. And it works with the sun. And so this is why we want to keep our bedrooms dark and cave-like with blackout blinds or a sleep mask. And your skin can even feel the sun. So that's why even if you do have the mask on, you want to have yourself covered up, or ideally the blackout shades, because it keeps that room dark and replicates that circadian rhythm that we're trying to keep going. And during the daytime, we want to get out in the sun. We want to get our body to feel that sunlight, because that's also part of the circadian rhythm. So even though in the nighttime we want to have it the blackout shades, in the daytime we want to have our body getting in a lot of that bright light, so it triggers the circadian rhythm correctly. This is what for jet lag. One of the best things you can do for jet lag is to try to replicate the circadian rhythm of the place that you're going to go to, so that as you're getting closer to that time period, you want to try to replicate that. So if you're on an airplane, for example, sometimes you might want to have that bright screen of your computer right in your light, even though it's dark everywhere else, because you're trying to replicate that light that you're trying to go into. Or you could be like a rock star and be wearing your sunglasses in the airport because it's dark where you're going to be flying to. So you want to have that, try to replicate that. So you want your body's light system to be replicating what the day and nighttime is going to be of where you're going to be going to bed, because you want to have that fixed sleep time. And the other thing that you could do is, we have all these electronic devices, and they emit this blue light, which acts, and it tells our body, hey, it's still daytime, it's still daytime, it's still daytime. So if you're watching a screen until 9, 10 o'clock or even later at night, your body still thinks, hey, it's only 5 at night, it's only 6 o'clock at night, or whenever the sun goes down. So this affects that melatonin secretion that I showed you in that beginning slide, where the melatonin starts to come up around 6 p.m. and by 10 or midnight it's at the highest level. So if we're watching things with the bright lights late in the evening, it's preventing that melatonin from coming out of our body, that natural melatonin that helps us fall asleep. So what you could do is, if you are going to be looking at a screen late at night, you can wear blue light glasses. There are glasses that just have a tint of in them. They could be regular glasses. You can get regular glasses with blue light in there, blocking in there. But there's also ones you can get special. You can order. There's also an app called Flux that you can get on your computer that dims the light on there as well. So that's the really high impact of light. The temperature, you almost want our body want to go to a colder sleep for that, and that helps reduce our heart rate and get us into the correct time for recovery, both in our deep sleep and our REM sleep. Our deep sleep is our body recovering, which happens first in the night, and that's why we want to have the heart rate drop, and that's why the cold temperature is important. And then our REM sleep, which happens later in the night. So getting your room cold is a key piece of that puzzle. Food and drink. So we want to have 2 hours between when we eat and when we go to bed, so it gives our body enough time to digest, so it's not doing that work when we're in bed. And also that includes water too, because if you have water too late before you go to bed, then you're going to get up in the middle of the night and have to go to the bathroom, which is going to disrupt your sleep. Alcohol has a huge impact on your heart rate, and your heart rate we want to get so low at night so that way you can be in the recovery. So 2 hours, if not longer, before you go to bed, you want to have eliminated any alcohol. And sometimes people drink alcohol to help them fall asleep, which it does. It does start to help you fall asleep, but it keeps your heart rate so raised so much that eventually you are going to wake back up and you won't be able to go back to sleep. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, or you just won't recover. You just feel sloggy the next day because your heart rate never got low enough for your body and your mind to recover. You might, like you said, be comatose in the bed because of the alcohol, but your body's not doing the recovery work that it needs to happen, and you won't be as sharp the next day. Here's another thing about caffeine too, is you don't want to have any caffeine after, say, like 2 p.m. You want to have a 10-hour window between going to having your last bit of caffeine and when you go to bed, because of the half-life of how long caffeine is in your system. And you also actually, remember the beginning slide when I showed the cortisol spike at the beginning of the morning, you actually want to give yourself an hour and a half before you have any caffeine, because you want that natural cortisol to start to decline before you have any caffeine. If you have caffeine as soon as you wake up, your cortisol is already spiking. You're going to have more caffeine. You're going to spike it even more, which is just going to take much longer for that cortisol to decline in the day. And if it doesn't fully decline, then you have it in your body when you're going to sleep, and that disrupts your sleep cycle. Sound, if you can do white noise or sound apps, that's great. That really helps with deep sleep. If you need to have foam earplugs, that helps too as well. Exercise no more than 3 hours before bed. And then having a wind down ritual is super important. And value it as sacred time. There's a ritual behind sleep. Honor that. Have the ritual be something you look forward to. I coached somebody who said that my jammies and sheets are scrumptious to me. I spend a few extra dollars here because I'm worth it, and my sleep certainly is. And it helps get you into that sleep schedule. So here's the tiny habits method. It's pretty simple. You anchor your new habit to an existing habit. So after I do an existing habit, I will do the new habit, and then I'll celebrate, because celebration creates a positive emotion, and emotions create habits. And it's not repetition that creates habits, it's positive emotions. So here's some examples. After I brush my teeth and set my toothbrush down, I will take a deep breath of gratitude and smile in the mirror. After I walk the dog and hang up the leash, I'll fill up a glass of water before my bedside. And so the new habits that you're trying to create to meet those 8 core pieces of sleep is what we're trying to create, new habits. And here's tons of different ways to celebrate. And I have a document you can download with all this afterwards. So here's a sleep ritual. I'm going to skip through the sleep ritual a bit here, and go down to the habits that we can look at. So after I enter my bedroom for the night, I will turn on my white noise device. After I close the door to the kids' room at night for bedtime, I will think of one thing I'm grateful for. There's a dog one. After I climb into bed, I will open and read a book to read. After I leave the bathroom for the night, I will set the thermostat to speed. This works for me. This is different for you. The bathroom and the bedroom is the thermostat. So it makes sense for me to turn it down right then. You might find a different anchor that works the thermostat. So that's why you're trying to pair that anchor with a new habit. After I see the sunset, I will start to dim the lights in the house, again, reducing that bright lights. And after I enter my bedroom for the night, I will close the blackout shades on the windows. And after I close the shades on my bedroom windows, I will fluff my pillows on my bed. So you can start stacking these habits on top of each other. So that we went over the stress of what we're going to do, what stress is doing to your sleep with the cortisol and the melatonin, how they naturally come out in your body in the morning and in the evening. We went over the 8 core components of sleep hygiene and talked a little bit about the tiny habits method, which is to anchor a new habit and a celebration. After I do my existing habit, I will do my new habit and then celebrate. And yeah, that's everything I have. Also here's one last thing, is to have an experimenter's mindset, because you have to try these things differently for your own life. And sometimes they don't work out, but that's okay. It just informs you on how to build your next habit. If if you try it and it's magic when you can pair an existing anchor that you have, an existing habit that you already have, with a new habit. It's almost instantaneously that you can create that new habit when they're exactly paired correctly. But if they don't, then try a different anchor, try a new habit. If the habit doesn't, if you don't consistently do the habit, maybe the habit's too big. You need to make it smaller. For example, if you want to do an exercise habit, say, after I get out, after my feet hit the floor in the morning after bedroom, I'll do 10 push-ups. Well, 10 might be too many. Maybe you just want to do 1 push-up. You can always do more than one, but make one the one you're going to celebrate, because that's building the habit, building the dopamine that's creating that habit in your brain. So have an experimenter's mindset, be kind to yourself, keep on practicing and trying. And then I have a sleep action guide at glenn.lubert.com/sleep habits, which has all the items that we have listed here in this slide, or in this slide presentation. I try to go through that as much as possible, so that way I can answer any questions that you have. And about sleep, like I said, I spent so much time studying it, and I know how to build lots of habits, so I'm open to answer your questions that you might have specifically for your individual situation.
Thank
you.
Thank you. I do have the blackout curtains. They work amazing even with the sun, but they don't work all the time. Does anybody know of a way to get them to stick to the wall better?
That's great. Well, then I would pair that maybe with a. I would say one thing is I would pair that with a sleep mask too, so that way you can ensure that when the sun does come up, and you don't have to wear the sleep mask all night, you can do it so that way when the morning sun starts coming in, just put it on your nightstand and grab it then. So that would be if the habit was that, is like when I feel the sun starting to creep in the morning, I will grab my sleep mask and put it on.
I get up
Also
at 8
seen-
a.m., so I'm usually in bed by 10 a.m., so there's definitely a lot of sun.
I can't get this screen share to stop, unfortunately.
I've seen some of the new blackout shades.
Any other
where
questions?
It actually has tracks along the side that kind of block out those, corners.
Yeah. So you need those blackout shades.
I'm just wondering, I get 8 hours of sleep a day, but typically I'll get like 2 hours of sleep during the day, and then of course like 6 at night. What I'm wondering is if that screws things up somehow. Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you okay.
Yeah, we can. Looks like Glenn's having some connection issues.
Well, anecdotally, it does for me.
I'm sorry that you broke.
Yeah, typically I sleep about 8 hours a day, but that includes 2 hours during the middle of the day. And I noticed that your thing showed that there's like a restorative thing that happens towards the last 2 hours. What I'm wondering is if me sleeping 2 hours plus 6 hours is giving me, is that having any effect on that restorative phase?
Right. Well, you're going to be physically restored in the first part of your night. So you're physically probably doing really well, physically restored. It's the REM sleep, which is where you're consolidating memories, the learning that you're doing for the day that's happening in the last part of the sleep. And that's what you could be reducing there. Now we all are all different. So, that those 6 hours could be enough for you. Especially, even 7 is like not too bad as well. So you could be getting some of that. I use a device called the Aura Ring, and it measures my sleep and gives me an idea of how I am doing for my deep sleep time, which is the body restorative, and then the REM sleep, which is the mind restorative. And that's where I've worked on different interventions to try to help improve that piece. So maybe I'm doing a meditation habit before I go to sleep, or I'm taking a magnesium supplement before I go to sleep. So I experiment using the Oura Ring as a tool to help me determine how those experiments are impacting my sleep.
Well, that's good to know that basically you're saying it's the REM that does more of the psychological restoration. Yeah. So, yeah, I know I'm getting lots of REM sleep.
Yes.
So this is good. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate your feedback on this.
Yeah, and napping is good too.
Awesome, Glenn. Thanks for sharing. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now.
My pleasure. Thank you.